One of the most important buildings in any community, and that's the library, the Bidwell Library. Bidwell?
Well, it says Bidwell Memorial Library on the outside, but officially we have never changed the name. It was the Mooers Free Library when it was first incorporated, and we never went through the procedure for changing the name. We probably should have done.
So over the last, well, not last, you retired in, when, 88, 87?
In 88.
You spent nearly as much time in here as you did in your kitchen.
Well,
once the kids grew up.
No,
no?
Because the library was only open a few hours a week, you know.
Well, how many, say, 10, 12, 15?
It was open on Wednesdays and Saturdays, 1 to 5 and 7 to 9.
Okay.
That time, 12 hours a week.
Yeah, and of course this is what's happening now. We were talking at the CEF, the computers. This is their computer where they can check from in here. They can check any book in this whole, in the whole area of that. I think she said Oswego. They said area.
Well, it's quite a large
area. They're all right in that little tiny disc right in here. And they can, and now you are not familiar with the computers.
I decided to retire when the computers came in.
All right. You did it the hard method. I say hard with the file drawers and the cards.
Right.
Okay. You came here, you said, in 1948.
1948, I was appointed librarian.
Through 1988. So you're talking 40 years. All right. Now, the history of the library. In this book on the history of the town of Mooers, there's a little bit. The library was started in
1917.
Okay.
Probably instigated by the Presbyterian minister, Reverend John Neal Robertson.
Is this his picture up there?
That's his picture up there on the wall. Yes, the Mooers Free Library Association was formed. He was elected secretary and treasurer. Mrs. H.W. Knapp was elected president. Mrs. Elmer Fitch was vice president. Each of the Mooers churches was represented on the board of trustees. Mrs. George Stevenson for the Wesleyans, Mrs. C.F. McCollister for the Catholics, Mrs. Elmer Fitch for the Methodists, and Mrs. H.W. Knapp for the Presbyterians. And Reverend Robertson was elected the 5th trustee and 1st librarian. The library itself was held in numerous places around the village until in 1930, Mrs. A.K. Bidwell left $5,000 in her will to build the library, $4,000 to build the library and $1,000 to equip it. And as we have noticed on the outside of the building, it's called the Bidwell Memorial Library, which it probably should be officially, but it had been the Mooers Free Library for many years, a number of years before that, since 1917. And it was never officially changed, the name of it. Officially, we are the Mooers Free Library.
This is Mrs. Bidwell, right over on that picture. And like I say, although, and this, if you haven't seen from outside, it's pretty cold. It's 0 or 3 above. This is the picture here of the library, right on Main Street. It's the second building east of the restaurant, the Blue Note.
Across from the barber shop.
Across from the barber shop. Okay, that's where we are. We're inside, and we're talking with the authority for 40 years. Now, did you have help during that time?
Oh, yes. All of my kids had to work in the library.
Your kids, yes.
At various times when they were in high school, and other young people, high school age, assisted and sometimes worked an hour or so by themselves when I would go home to get supper.
Now, without giving me any names, did any of the 5 didn't like it as much as the others?
Well,
no names.
I don't know.
Was it a chore for them? No.
I will tell you that when Jim was working here, at the same time Larry Marnes and Max Stewart, who were his classmates, also worked occasionally in the library. For instance, if the library is open from 1 to 5, school was out at 3, we'll say, and one of these teenagers would come in at 3:30, and I would go home to get supper. So we did have teenagers working here for an hour and a half, perhaps. And Jim put a note on the back of the clock, and he wrote, "It would be dishonest in the extreme to set this clock ahead." So you can see he was anxious to get out of there.
But listen, it did them all good, obviously. They all went on to, they all graduated from college, all went on to higher education.
Right.
They've all got relatively good jobs, they got good jobs,
Very
and
good.
they married well, they got a good family. And a lot of it you had to depend on, and they were responsible. That's one way to get them responsible.
Jim loved science fiction, and he remarked at one time that his knowledge of science fiction was perhaps what got him the National Merit Finalist Award. I don't know how that is.
Well, I think, well, I mean,
Imagination and
yeah. Tell me now, who's the librarian now?
Marilyn Bobka from Scioto. Her husband has been a professor at the college. In fact, he retired, and then he's teaching one class right now, I believe.
Now, she been here since you left? In 88?
Yes, she showed an interest in the library and was a regular patron and volunteered to help out and so forth. And I was beginning to wonder who's going to take over if I quit. And Marilyn was willing. So I was very happy about that.
Yeah. Now, when you say that, they think of it as being a town library, village library, it is not. It is it's operated by an association, a group?
Well, it was set up that way as an association library, and it still is. And we used to say people paid membership dues in the library. The dues were only $1 a year. And eventually we had to give up the idea of their paying dues. We just have a fund drive and accept donations now, but we can't ask for dues because...
Well, you couldn't get your tax exempt certificate.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right. Yes. Now, tell me, you have trustees that run the library?
Yes.
Operate?
We have seven
Can
trustees.
you remember who they all are? Can you tell me? Oh, we got to start it here now.
Reginald Barcombe has been president of the library board for a number of years. We hope he'll continue.
He was on that committee, you remember, for the bicentennial, yes?
Lorraine Orr has been a trustee for years. Lois Marnes was until she retired last May. And in Lois's place, we elected Barbara Seguin. Some people pronounce that differently.
Seguin, yes.
Whatever. And Jack Orr is now a library trustee.
That's Joanna's husband?
That's, yes.
Our principal at the elementary school, the husband, yes. Daughter just got married, by the way. Picture was in the paper just a week ago. We got to give you the news.
Sue Evans. Dr. Evans' wife is a trustee, vice president. Have I named them all, Paul?
Name 5.
Name 5. Uh-oh.
Well, myself.
Oh, let's not forget Mrs. Vogan. And then we got one other we're going to think about, and we'll continue. We can't stand here and think, but we'll think about it as we go. There's one other person. The most important one you're going to find out.
No, she's not one of the trustees. She's secretary for the library board, Marilyn Bobka.
Okay. Now, I'm told here, Pam Vogan Lynch's horse, that's your daughter's part of her horse collection.
Well, it's a very small part of her horse collection, really.
She's the one, do you remember, went on to college and liked the horses we just heard about when we were at the house. And that's some of the horses she's put up here. And this map was done by, come over here with me. This map was done by
Leeward Orr.
Leeward Orr. It's a map of the town of town of Mooers, rather, and it's got the different designations, and he's got an index here that tells you what each number is. Number 19, number 13. Of course, the Mooers Village. The junction was up here before. Then it's got Cannons is out here. Cannons Corner. This is Route 11, and Mooers Forks here. The three basic communities. Of course, there was another one years ago that was very well known. It was right here, and that was Thorns Corners. Thorns Corners was quite an established residential area years ago. It was pretty well known, and it was in the maps, and it was in the various things. I see he hasn't designated it as such in here. The schools, the churches, leeward or, and he's made more than one of these. Did I understand?
There's another map. We'll see it in the basement.
Okay.
Before we forget, the 7th trustee is Helen Garrison.
All right. Ellen Garrison, who also works at our bazaar in the treasurer.
She is the treasurer.
She works at our bazaar in Champlain and helps St. Mary's, and we see her in Champlain from time to time.
She's been ill.
I didn't know
She
that.
has been ill for the last several months.
I don't see her too often. I see her mostly in the bazaar in the spring, and she helps us out. And all right, now this is where you spent so many years, right
I
here.
sat there quite a while, I believe.
Okay. Now, how many volumes would you have in a library like this?
I think we say around 5,000.
5,000. If you remember, it was somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000. They have in the bookmobile that travels around the 62 stops. They were talking, and now these change from time to time.
We have collections from the system library, as you know.
Okay, yeah. Are they at one place? Can you give us an idea, for instance, if they were?
Chiefly on these bookshelves.
Okay.
Down here.
They would be in one particular area.
I think,
Okay, these here.
A lot of these are...
Okay, see, here is that Clinton Essex Franklin Library, and they were telling us that they do set up collections of a certain type of books.
These are adult fiction, and on the other side there are adult nonfiction, many of those from the system library also.
And the rest are all your books, right?
Yes, this is the local history area.
Now these can't go out, is that the idea?
I think perhaps they're loaned occasionally, but carefully.
Okay, now I noticed the history of Shazy by, is it Nell Sullivan and Mr. David Martin. Well, I just read last night in that history book that Mrs. Sullivan was formerly from Mooers. She's a native of the Mooers area. I don't remember what family, but I saw that last night. What do the white symbols mean on there?
You would have to ask Marilyn. She put those on.
She's got her own symbols, all right? You know what it is? It's something to confuse Betty Vogan.
Well,
So you won't know what it is. It'll be something
if
you
I don't know, I'll ask Marilyn.
All right.
Historical nature.
Probably. Could be, it must designate a certain kind to a different thing.
Right, we have to talk about this collection of books on antiques
Okay.
that Harold Barr gave us. When his mother died, she had an antique shop in her home, you know.
Where is that?
What was her first name, Paul? Mrs. Barr? Eva Barr?
And she had and she gave this collection of antiques.
Well, her son mostly. He was in Florida, he's a lawyer. And he shipped them up here. He could take tax credit or something for the donation.
Right.
But on both sides of these shelves, the books on antiques are donated by Harold Barr.
I see they got dolls, a lot of collections on dolls. We saw the doll collection at the Clinton County Historical Museum.
Well, it's a beautiful collection. We're very grateful to Harold.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I believe he still contributes to our fall.
All of these, you mean on both sides, that whole section? Very nice collection, very nice. And here's, we were talking about, this is one of the books I mentioned at the library the other day, and I couldn't get, that's The Bridges of Madison County. It was mentioned, my wife wanted that book, I wanted to get it for her, and when I asked for it, they had already purchased it. They knew it was going to be a popular book, right? Very popular, right? It was
some reviewers call it a glorified soap opera. But,
well, that's what makes it so good, I guess.
But it's very interesting. I read it.
Yeah, very.
And he's got another book out
Yes,
now.
and be automatically a hit, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
This was also mentioned on TV, but the latest book out on the assassination of JFK. There was a TV program when he was on, Gerald Posner was on. He claims that whatever they did, whatever they found out, was exactly the way it happened. I didn't read the book, but I've read many of those on the assassination. All right, what else can we'll take a short break and be right back.
It's been a wonderful thing for the library and also to remember people's names.
Okay, we're looking at the Plaque City, of course, and I started the trophy business back in 1968, which went on and still being operated now by the Dick Turno and his son and his son-in-law in Rouse's Point. And here's one, Elizabeth F. Vogan, That is your maiden name, I take it, F.
Forden.
Forden. Librarian, 1948 to 88, the Mooers community. In appreciation for devoted service, planted and dedicated a blue spruce tree on the library lawn and also put a nice plaque. I see 3 other plaques here that are similar with a lot of little plates. What are those? What's that all about?
Well, those are memorials. Any family who would like to have their deceased named on our memorial plaque, if they will donate $50 to the library, the name will be added to the
Or more?
plaque.
Or more, even?
Or
Oh,
more.
yeah, or more.
In fact, it was among the larger donations to begin with. Evelyn Matthews, who was president of the library board here for years and taught at the school for many years, there were many donations in her memory.
Several hundred.
Yeah. Now, there's only 5 plates left, but if there's more than 5, I'm sure they'll buy another plaque. And you probably got, did you get those from my former business? I hope. Trophies and awards in Rouse's Point,
Yes,
New York.
we did.
We can say that. And
did.
Melvin Ferns, I see here. Then Reverend Watson, Catherine Baker, James Fitch, Ozias Plant, Clonis, Carol Clonis, Jean Stewart, Ruby Barcombe, Macomb, Mr. and Mrs. John Provenci, Ralph Lewis, Leeward Manette. These are people that are well known in this community. Now that I started, I got to name them all, Calvin. I'm stuck now. I better read them all. Charles Chandler, Graham Brooks, Amos Musso, Floyd Dragoon, J. Edgar Morgan, Paul Plant, Mr. and Mrs. Willard Orr. Who has not heard of all of those people? And there's another one over here. Eva Boyer and Thurlow Stewart, Constance Lawson, Evelyn Matthews, Edward Marnes, Mr. and Mrs. H.W. Vogan,
Paul's parents.
Paul's parents, Mr. and Mrs. L.B. Jubert, Red Jubert's parents from Scioto, Cora Fitch, Raymond Brooks, Virginia Knapp Smith, Ina Boyce, teacher for many years, and Frank Macomb. These are the people, and if you haven't got your plaque up here yet, and you want to be remembered, and don't we all want to be remembered, come up here. $50. Now, not only is it don't cost $50 for a plate, but the library needs $50 and a lot more. And the towns out there, please, give these libraries a little bit more. I'm going to mention that again. When we vote in the fall for our bond issue, I think it's $4,500 they get now, $1,500 for the 3 libraries. Mooers, Champlain, and Rouse's Point. That should be at least $5,000 each. I can afford it, and anybody out there who needs we need libraries, and the libraries need help. You agree with that?
Definitely.
All right. And it's not for your salaries. The salaries are very small.
No, when I began working here, it was 50 cents an hour. And then later it was $1 an hour. And then when the minimum wage was passed, they had to bring it up to minimum wage.
But librarians today are not making much more than minimum wage. $5, $6 an hour? Are they getting that?
I don't know.
I don't have to know
for
that.
sure
Well,
what
I think,
It should be. I mean, gosh, you know, these...
I think in most places, like in Clinton, Essex, Franklin.
Oh, I don't mean that. I'm talking about the little
Oh,
town.
no.
Here, they're putting,
I
you're
don't- I
donating
don't
their
know what
time,
they-
you know, you're putting, you're donating your time. We've had donated people before. And can the library use help from anybody out there? If there's a
Sure.
young person that's
Sure.
interested in the library, can you find something for them to do if they want to? A teenager, someone responsible?
Certainly.
Come in and talk to the librarian, talk to the board
Of
if you're...
course, Marilyn Bobka has Merle Garand working here with her under the Green Thumb program. And she has been working for a year or so with Marilyn and has been very helpful.
Okay. While we were here just a few minutes ago, well, look at Calvin's got those cats up there on that camera. Tell us about those kittens, cats.
Well, those cats were all owned by somebody in the area, and I think it was Bev Sears that wanted her cats. She's got a lot of cats put up there, and she produced pictures, camera pictures of all her cats. Pam has her cat jumping down on the left-hand end there. Let's see, Sharon Pratt Dutil has a couple of cats up there, 2 or 3. And Marilyn Bobka has 2 or 3 of her cats up there. Pam painted them all. from
Pam
pictures.
Vogan Lynch with the horses. She's the one that came along 8 years after Jim.
Right.
To Jim.
Right.
See, I'm remembering all
have a
these.
good memory.
March the 1st, 1954. She's nearly 40 years old. She's the one who painted those. And she's been painting for years. She's been doing a lot of painting.
Those are on sliding panels, and behind there we have current magazines stored.
All right. Now, up on top of this shelf right here, and this I guess you'd call it a picture frame with inscriptions. And the reason I looked at it, and way down at the bottom it says, mustered into the United States service, August the 29th, 1862, by Lieutenant Foote at Plattsburgh, New York. So these are county people that are very, very old. We're talking 130 years here. This is older than Paul Vogan, as a matter of fact. Right here, this is what that is. And this, of course, the Civil War, they left from their county, and it's a nice memento up here it's in 2 pieces of glass. If it broke, it sure broke straight across. Nice old piece here. When you come to this library, look at this a little closer. A lot of family names on here that have been here for years, and some that are no longer in our area. You'd have to look in the cemetery to see some of these family names. Okay, and this a table. Just come in here and everybody can sit here and study, do what they want?
Right. We should mention the cemetery record books.
Okay.
I think they're out of the library at present being updated, but Leeward and Lois Orr were in charge of that for many years, and it's quite a problem to keep them updated.
So that's your own, or is that something from McClellan's?
Those are
your own here?
Yes.
And that's just in the town of Mooers? Is that the town of Mooers record?
The records of the cemeteries in Mooers and Mooers Forks, I believe perhaps Altona.
Okay, any of you genealogists out there, anybody wants to check, it's a fun place to check if you're looking in the town of Mooers. And you're open again when?
We're open Monday and Wednesday, 1 to 5 and 7 to 9. And
so that's 1 to 5 and 7 to 9, and each day?
Each day, and on Saturday now from 10 to 12 and 1 to 4.
Okay.
We're going to be increasing the hours, 2 more hours very soon.
Okay, and you say we now. Are you still on the committee?
I mean the Mooers.
Oh, all right. Well, now you were on the board, right? You never were on it.
No, but he's the unpaid janitor
Oh,
for
yeah.
the Mooers Library.
Well, he had someone probably that instigated a lot of his coming here.
Yes,
You know who
I
that
think
might
so.
be?
But he still continues to help
He still continues
Maryland.
to. Well, I'd be very surprised if he didn't continue to help. He would be very, very surprised. All right. What else should? Here, for instance, you want to know what's in here? Income tax forms.
Right.
Federal forms here, and I think there's a video in here somewhere
There's
that will
a
tell you
copier that.
that you can learn how to fill out your forms and so forth. And there's a program usually on TV that's about this time of the year. All right.
We should mention the large print books.
Okay.
We have a lot of large print books for people who prefer to read the larger print.
This is all large print?
Yes.
Okay, and that also, you remember we were talking down at the library? That's one of the services they have.
I think those all came, you can see by the labels, all came from the system library.
Right, all from the system down there. Now these will come in and out, they
Oh,
change,
yes.
because this wouldn't be here, they don't have 8 copies of this or 29 copies.
No,
They'll
those
move from-
circulate just like the rest of the books in the library.
Mhm.
And we also take a collection every once in a while up to the senior center.
A collection,
Of books.
and you bring them up there, you mean leave them there or something?
for
Oh, you do?
2 or 3 months and then change them.
Uh-huh. Who uses your library the most?
Since I
Older,
haven't- since I haven't been in
middle-age,
here
or
for a while.
children? I mean, when you were here, in the 80s.
Well, it's families with young children use it a lot now that we have a beautiful children's library in the basement.
Oh, you have a
You'll see
separate
that.
library for the children? Okay, we're going to go down.
Then a number of adults that read use the library. Students doing reference papers use the library. We all wish everybody would use the library more than they do.
What it's for.
We
right?
have people saying, well, I've never been in the library,
Mhm.
but
Do you have any pictures here? I mentioned you can get pictures and bring them home. Do you have any of those here? Any of the art
No.
pictures? No, you don't do
well,
that?
there are some downstairs,
Yes,
aren't
some
there?
down-
That you can
From the
borrow?
system
Yeah, from the system library.
we could have done it one time. They've gone out of that business pretty much.
Well,
Okay.
they placed them all in Saranac, didn't they
Saranac
say?
Lake, yep. I think that's where they said they are
I
now.
think they said.
All right, we're going to move down around. There's, as we say, roughly between 4,000 and 5,000 books here. plus the periodicals and.
Lots of paperbacks. People give us.
All right, now what can people give you books?
Oh yes, yes.
All right, except for textbooks. You don't want textbooks, I take
No,
it, right?
we don't want.
You don't need
textbooks.
textbooks. But any other books that they can give you, you can stop into the dollar store in Champlain, buy a new book and give it to your library. It's a nice donation for them. They think they're getting 15 or 20. It's only $1. But it's a book they want, and someone else may want to borrow it here.
Then Labor Day, we've been having a sale on the lawn of books that we're discarding, books that have been given to us that we don't need. Maybe we have other copies of them.
The day of the parade.
And also craft items and white elephant type items.
I usually pick up a box or two out here full of these books, and I was in here, and that's when I came in. Last year I came in and saw the cats. I was talking to someone. I saw Mrs. Helen
Helen Garrison?
Garrison. She was here when I came last fall.
Yes.
Yes, she was here.
Yes.
All right. And then what do? Do you sell magazines regular? Do you sell your that are old, or any of your books that are general?
These older copies can be taken out, I guess, without being checked out,
Okay.
but returned. We were here the other day, and Paul was telling somebody, "Oh, you can have those," and
Yeah.
Marilyn said, "Oh no, we want them back. You may borrow them, but we want them back. Those craft magazines."
Okay. We're going to go downstairs and see the rest of the library. Please stay with us. We've come down into the basement area, I guess you'd call it the lower level. And if you always had this as a library down here?
No. For years and years, this was just a basement. And in the springtime, the water would be up maybe a foot in here. And everything had to be put up on blocks and so forth if there's any storage down here at all. Dank, and sometimes insects crawling around on the walls and water lines and so forth. There's seepage in. And so they talked about they needed more room here for the library, and whether we were going to put on an addition or what. And so we said, well, why don't we fix up the basement? So at that time I was serving on the Clinton Essex Franklin Library Board, and we're talking about construction and about getting grants from the state or the United States, whichever the federal or state grants. So we got together and saw a contractor and said something about what we would need, and submitted a grant, and we got a matching grant from the state for this. And so what we decided to do was just to fix it over, and first of all we thought, well, we'll paint the walls and maybe raise the floor, and which we did, because before the water was seeping in all the time. And so they put gravel and so forth, about 8 inches of gravel on top of the old floor, and put in this porous or pipe with the holes in it anyway, pipe around there so the water could leak in, and it all led into a drain, and we have a sump pump business over there. So we got that done, got the new floor in and so forth, and then we decided, rather than paint and patch up the walls, try to make them waterproof in some way, why not insulate them and put in the paneling. Well, first of all, we paneled around the furnace to hide the furnace. And then it looked so good that said, well, why don't we go the rest of the way and do the whole room? So then the board elected to do that. We got help from the town and from the village, and different people donating, and so this is the result of that. And then we decided to put in carpeting, and back in here was all this area here was just a wasted space, you might say. There was a partition across here, and just sort of a dank storage room. We took that out, and so this is the result. And then also at the same time, we also put in, we didn't have any toilet facilities or running water here, so anytime we wanted a bucket of water or anything, there's no toilet facilities at all or washroom. So we put in a septic tank and the water. We don't have hot water here, but the water is warm because by the time it travels through here and so forth, it's Okay, we have a flush toilet upstairs.
So now you have to keep heating the building all the time now with the water.
Well, we did anyway.
You did anyway.
Oh, yes.
Now this, I see Pam Vogan's name on that.
Yes, she,
1979.
yes,
She did that one here first. Was that upstairs for a while?
yes.
Yes, it was.
When did you do the basement? Do you know about when that was?
Oh,
How long?
it's been maybe 10 years
10
ago.
years?
I don't remember.
Very nice. You're using. See, we don't use our basement in Champlain. Of course, it's damp. It's not wet, but it's damp. You got to put a dehumidifier or something down there. You'd have to heat it. And right now they don't really need it, but it'd be nice. I've thought of making a little museum down there for our village, and I've really considered it. Have to pick up some money, maybe get a matching grant, I guess. So these are all children's things down here,
Yeah.
Mrs. Vogan, now, right?
Children's
All
book.
right? And encyclopedias down here, the world books, the lower age, and all the different books. Now in behind, I see some National Geographic. You keep your
yeah,
National
a lot of
Geographics here, huh?
Right.
Okay.
Um,
What else? And how do you manage with one person in the library when you have someone upstairs and someone downstairs?
Well, as I told you, the last year or so, we've had Merle Garand,
All right.
working under the Green Thumb program.
So
which
she-
is very convenient.
Yeah, because you need somebody just to
Right.
maintain order and to make sure that they help. They need help sometimes, you know.
Well, usually parents come with children who are using this area,
Mm-hmm.
so that helps. But as you say, if there's only one adult
Oh, yeah.
here in charge, you can't be upstairs
No.
and downstairs at the same time.
I noticed there is a door right here. Is that used? Right outside?
It can
Nobody-
be in the
It
summertime.
can be used in the
it's
summer. I see a
open.
screen door. You got a new door out front, you said, and that
Yeah.
must be the old
That
one.
was to be
That's-
taken out of here.
Okay.
I hope that we'll get rid of it when we have the next board meeting.
Okay.
Going back to the geographics,
Uh-huh.
this is when I was still serving on the board down at the CEF, and I was down in the basement there, and what are you going to do with those geographics? Oh, we're going to throw them out. And I said, well, throw them to Mooers.
Mm-hmm.
The real
So
old ones.
every time they'd make a delivery, they'd bring up a box of them, and finally we got the whole collection that goes back to 1913, I think.
Oh, go, yes, yes.
Did you know that there's a passageway down between the Plattsburgh Public Library and Clinton Essex Franklin?
No, they go across? No, they didn't
Yes.
mention that.
No,
That's where they had these
they had them
Oh.
down there.
little books down in that
And that's where
passageway.
they stored all these pictures that they're giving out and
Yeah.
so forth. This is one of the things besides pictures, they had those type of
They
things.
loan those,
They
uh,
loan
This?
that out, yes.
They loaned you that,
Yeah.
yeah? I bought some geographics from the Malone Library, and I didn't check them. I bought 400. And later I found out that they were, nearly half of them were stuck together. I don't know where the dampness came
Uh-oh.
from. They were down in the basement, but they were unshelled, but they still got damp and they were stuck together.
These pictures on the walls are all from CEF.
Okay, these are the pictures we're talking about. Up here, those are the ones that you could borrow and put in your office, and you can keep them for a month or 6 weeks, I guess, can't
They've
you?
kept them for years.
Yep. And then they have different ones.
Schoolroom over
Yep,
there.
there's one over behind Calvin, and another one over here that are the type that you can borrow. All right. Now, is there anything anybody can donate to the library here? Furniture at all? I see you have a television.
Well, the school has loaned us this table and these chairs and so forth
Mm-hmm.
we have here. And this table here, these are properties they weren't using in the school. If they ever want them, they can always get them. But
Mm-hmm. Nice little chairs.
I asked them if they had anything that they could use here for the children's department,
Uh-huh.
and they have put those on permanent loan, I
Yeah.
guess.
If you think you've got something out there, I guess, that you'd like to donate to the library that you think they might be able to use, why don't you call the library and ask them? Call someone on the board and ask them. Don't feel insulted if they say they can't use because maybe it don't fit into your schedule.
Yeah.
They aren't going to pick up your junk. They don't mean junk. They mean something that would be, you want to just leave it here for a year or two. You'd be glad to store it for them if they could be used. Extra books, shelves, and anything else. They can always use it.
What's this room called?
What's the room called?
Well, it's up here in the
Ah,
back.
I think Calvin saw that plaque up there. And what's it called?
I don't remember.
Well, let me see what this is called. Oh, no wonder. Ah, look. The Paul and Elizabeth Vogan Reading Room. In appreciation for the devoted service to the library, dedicated December 5th, 1985, the Board of Trustees Mooers Free Library. So, not only does Mr. and Mrs. Vogan Sr. have a little plaque upstairs for his mom and dad, $50 or more, but they also have a plaque right here with both of their names on. And that's very, very nice question. Elizabeth's got her own upstairs. I've been calling her Betty. Is it okay to say Betty? I'm not going to ever call
that's
you
right.
Paul.
Right,
I can't call you
Why,
Paul or
sure.
Mr. Marr. I
Yeah,
can't call you. I
sure.
can't call you Dan.
It's a beautiful jacket
Well,
you have on.
it's surprising. I go to the Salvation Army now, time to time. It's surprising what you can pick up when you get there at the right time.
Right.
Here's another one of those maps by Leeward Orr, I take it.
Yes.
This is more of the village of Mooers, correct, with the different houses?
Yes.
And all the houses are identified by number. It means that you have a number right here, but which is your house?
I don't know.
80, 81?
Built that in, and here's the,
Yeah, there's the index for it. Good job, Mr. Orr.
that's the store this is.
Right in there, yeah. Right there you go, right inside. Just some of the things you can get at the library. Anything else we should know about down here? Self-explanatory down here. Do you miss coming in here every couple times a week?
I miss seeing the people.
There you go.
Visiting with the people.
You know,
I don't miss the work.
Okay.
Or the
I'll bet you I could
schedule.
say the same thing from retiring from school.
Right.
You don't miss the work, but you miss seeing the people. The ones that you liked, at least. The ones that you liked, and you
I
could.
don't remember any I didn't like.
Well, you know, you could see the pictures of their children as they were growing up, hear about their, the good and the bad in their lives, and you do miss that. You do miss
Right.
that. I miss that part. I don't miss getting up in the morning. I had to get up earlier this morning to come and see you people. I'll have you know that.
we have some people from Canada using our library.
Is that
They
right?
have to pay an annual fee. But we have people who have come here bringing their children when they were little, and they're now still coming, and their children are all grown up and married and moved away.
That's great. That's great. I think that's a great place to bring a child. Library is just, it's got everything in a library.
I'll have to tell you something that happened here maybe a month ago. We were coming back from our son John's over at Candiac, stopped at the Champlain Customs, and the fellow says, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Moores." I said, "Have you ever heard of Moores?" "Oh," he says, "yes, that's where they have the good library."
That's great.
Yeah, one of the customs officers. And then he came in the other day, and I could see he had his uniform. I said, "Are you the fellow that said that this was where we had to go?"
Yeah.
He said, "I'm the guy."
Yeah, it's great. It's nice to hear that.
Yeah.
Makes you feel worthwhile. Were you in the car?
Yes.
You were,
yes,
okay.
I
Now,
was
kid,
with
do
it.
they live in that development in Candiac where all those houses are right around the
Oh, yeah.
shopping
It's a
area?
very fast-growing area there. I don't know whether in going over, if you're going over to the bridge,
Mm-hmm.
which bridge we call it there, the old bridge,
Yeah. Well,
starts with L. Well, anyhow, there's a big new McDonald's there right on the corner, and that's
Mhm.
we turn there, and that's go up to our sons. It's all rapidly growing development in through there.
nice area. Good enough.
Nice area, very residential.
We've spent the last 3 hours in Mooers, New York. First at the residence, and now at the former work spot here. The many-hour devotion of Mrs. Vogan at the Mooers Free Library. I said it right. Sometimes referred to as the Bidwell Library, but it's on the front. But it's the Mooers Free Library officially. Trustee now, or on the board of directors, and a former librarian here for 40 years. Mr. Vogan, 25 years on the CEF, Clinton Essex Franklin Library. Books,
Library board.
library board. You got to remember that books, people have been their lives in this community for 62 years. He's been here, and you've been here for 59 years, give or take, a couple of months, right? Both teachers here. She retired from her teaching early to raise 5 children at home, and now is reaping the benefits of retirement. And you only have to cook for 2 now.
Right.
Anything else before I leave?
No.
I think
He says no. Ready to go. Covers it all?
I think you've covered it all.
You're all
Yeah,
right. Thank you.
More than covered.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mr. Vogan. Nice seeing you both.
Nice.
And we hope you tune in every Sunday to see our program called What's Going On Here. Calvin with the camera, Bob then with the mic. It's on at 1 o'clock, 4:30, 8 p.m., midnight, and 8 the following morning. And if you've got some ideas for us, why don't you let us know? We'll try to follow through on them. And number 2, if you're not a patron, become a patron to Hometown Cable. $12 or more to Hometown Cable, Ridge Road, Champlain, New York, and keep Calvin smiling. Good night, everybody.
Very good.